DJI sent me the drone early to test out, so I've had a while to get used to it now. I'm really lucky that this was the one they sent me because it would be awkward if I had nothing but bad stuff to say about it. But this thing really performs. Just when they showed me this spec list, I mean, what an overhaul. A larger sensor, hyperlapse, collision sensors, active track, vertical filming, a smart controller, a 47-minute battery option. It's like they went on the internet and looked at all the what ifs of what people thought they would never actually do, and then they just added it. The biggest improvement is always going to be the sensor. The bigger they make the sensor, the faster the image quality improves. That's the reason to go make a new model of drone, is to get a bigger sensor in there. Not only is it a bigger sensor, the camera also has a higher aperture, so it absorbs more light. It's f1.7, and obviously the image quality has improved really well. This is starting to break so far away from looking like a cell phone filmed it. Originally with the Mini, it was just cool to have a drone that size that could film. And at the point of the Mini 3 Pro, it's like almost unnoticeable that you're not filming on a much bigger drone. This has gone from a 1/2.3 inch sensor to a 1/1.3 inch sensor. That's basically double the size. You get more dynamic range with the bigger sensor. That means bright brights and dark shadows at the same time, so you can see richer shadows. Colors are deeper. The image doesn't feel at all like it was filmed on a small drone. You'll also get more usable ISO from a bigger sensor, so I think we're out of the ballpark of just completely unusable ISO, where if you added anything, it just starts to look super grainy like older drones. And now if you wanted to do ISO 200, it's not the end of the world. I'm using ISO 400 on photos and it's coming out usable. It looks good. When you remove that first bottleneck, which is the sensor, and you give it a big enough sensor, now there's a justification for all that data. When it has a really rich data rate, you get more details and shadows. It makes sense to have more data now. Now there's actually more information in the image, even if you can't see it all. So when you pull up shadows, it's workable. You need a larger sensor and rich data to be able to color grade, and this just makes the cut, so now it's applicable. So yeah, you can get artsy, moody shots with this because it has enough data. More importantly though, if you make a mistake, you can color grade this enough to fix that. If you're a little underexposed, it's not gonna fall apart as soon as you raise the exposure half a stop. That has been really cool filming at the beach, where you get deep shadows and tons of light in the background with clouds and the sun. It's very much workable. It looks really good. So to me, the sensor, that's the absolute number one. That's always going to be my biggest deal. I'm always filming in lighting extremes because I'm trying to find crazy conditions to get the best shots. The more you improve, the more you're going to notice that conditions matter more. You have to pursue those things like sunrise and sunsets, crazy weather, thunderstorms, things like that. And that's when dynamic range is a big deal. I love long exposure photography, hyperlapses. The thing I wanted the most in this is hyperlapse. I am just happy that they added hyperlapse. That to me was a dream come true. I can't believe they stuck it in there for the price. And having used it, it's not just a hyperlapse, it's a very good hyperlapse too. So yes, you get quality photos out of this with a bigger sensor. So I'm thoroughly happy to be able to use this thing. I have my own special way of doing this, so the default looks different, but still. I cannot believe I paid $1,300 for a Mavic Pro 1 back in the day with that thin data and that tiny sensor. I mean, it was cool to have a flying working drone. That's what got me into this. So I can never say that it wasn't a great experience, but man, is it just weird to see how far we've come in so little time. Like, drone technology is moving at warp speed, and all of these features small enough to fit in your Ninja Turtles lunchbox. On to the other fun stuff. Most of the footage you're going to see from me is at the beach because I took this thing up and down Highway 1. I put it through all kinds of tests, and this is exactly how the footage is turning out. You don't see any hiccups, you don't see the wind blowing it sideways. The Mini 3 Pro is actually rated high. The Mini 3 Pro is actually rated better in wind, but you can see from the footage it's pretty much not noticeable. It was already like that with the Mini 2 though. I would see it wobbling next to me and the image came out super smooth. So DJI has always had the best gimbals and the best stabilization, so I'm super happy with that. It's still a small drone though, so I'm not about to take it straight into a hurricane like I would with the Inspire 2 or a Haboob. I've crashed a drone flying into a Haboob to get photos before, by the way. This is just a quality of life improvement. When I turned the Mini 2 on after using the Mini 3, there is a distinctly more aggressive like from the Mini 2 than there is from the Mini 3, which is like, it's a lot less scary, it's a lot less aggressive, it doesn't seem as angry. That helps with the anxiety a lot for a first-time flyer. It's way more chill to fly a drone that just isn't super loud and is a lot more steady. Collision sensors, this is such a big deal because, let's be honest, nobody needs collision sensors more than the Mini crowd. It's not the Inspire crowd or the Mavic crowd, it's the Mini crowd that needs to be able to have some insurance. I've never crashed a Mini 2, but I know people have online. So I have a friend who doesn't want to buy another Mini 2 because of the collision sensors, because he's broken 3 of them. He's crashed 3 of these things. So if you're a drone out there up for adoption, beware of this guy because he is abusive.
This probably helps DJI in the end because there's going to be less people calling support and crashing drones. But this isn't really a surprise to me because I have a bunch of drones, so I know how they work. And yes, these are collision sensors that work. So if you're worried about bonking into a tree, you can relax. The Mini 2 only had ground sensors, so it could stop itself from hitting the ground hard, but nothing else. Focus track is now a thing on this drone. You just click and draw a square over whatever you want it to track, and it gives you the option. Do you want to rotate? Do you want to follow where it's going? To be honest, I was never in the crowd of people that wanted this at all. I didn't care, so I immediately tried to crash it. I tried to stress test this to like make it run into a wall or something. It didn't do any of that. It just followed me the whole time, and I couldn't get it to ram into a wall or get off track or anything. Relax, because it's a sandy wall, so it won't hurt the drone. I'm never the person for this kind of stuff, but man, this works really well. And here's me at full speed, still going fine. That is really nice work. I never used it before because I thought it was like a janky gimmicky feature that like, oh, it's kind of cool, but I'm not like completely confused and old and I'll just fly it myself. It works really well. I mean, you can speed up and down. I sent this thing in circles around myself and it kept me point of interest. I've always been someone who films himself manually before, but when you're on like a windy beach, you don't want to have to think about aiming. So that was the most helpful spot when I was on the beach and it was windy, and I didn't want to keep looking back at the drone to see if it was in the bushes. This feature is also helpful if you're having a moody main character moment where the whole world is about you and you're just being so artsy and introspective. So like for influencers, this is great for you. While we're on that subject, the coolest thing in this drone, probably to me, that makes it the most unique is the vertical filming. And this is completely new, but this is so cool. The other feature for the person who's always filming themselves, this will save you so much time. Before you'd have to film wide and then you'd have to send it back to your phone and then crop in for social, and that means you have to edit it and then put it on Instagram. Now you get the framing straight away of what you're filming. You know exactly what it'll look like when it's tall, so it's not like you aim wrong and then it's off center. The other thing, the drone camera turns sideways, so this is full 4K. This is not like just a crop or something. It's not framing it for you. It's full resolution, full data, everything. This has been really fun because you get unique angles. Also, I like this because it'll force you to frame better. It'll force you to keep things in the center because you don't have a lot of wiggle room, and people won't be flying 10 miles into the sky and just filming Earth this way because you have to make use of the frame better this way. For drones with short lenses, it's always been important to keep something in the foreground to show off the background, but this like really pushes you to do that. And yeah, I tested this sideways and normal. There isn't any weird funkiness going on. There isn't like the picture is kind of warped or it's like the color changes or anything. It's pretty much the same thing. This is also super cool for photography because before I would have to shoot a panoramic and then make it tall, and now you have the framing from the get-go. I was worried that was going to be a gimmick or like, hey, we have vertical filming, and then they just crop it on 4K, but no, everything's good so far. It's usable. The quality's great. The Mini 3 Pro lets you shoot in D-Cinelike. This is a flatter profile so you can absorb more shadows and more highlights, and then you just do the coloring on an actual computer, which will do a better job. This is really crucial in situations with a ton of shadow like this scene right here. This helps you recover a lot more shadows, especially because the normal profile would just be pure black in some of these spots. This is a secret weapon if you're shooting something like a sunset and it's cloudy and you want to make sure you get the most dynamic range, but you can still work with the normal profile, so it gives you an extra tool, and it's good to have that safety net when you need it. And then the smart controller, the DJI RC. I've said before, this is something I really suggest you stay away from because it's flying business on an airline. Once you get a taste of this, there is no going back to the peasant life of not having this. It's easier when you don't know what you're missing out on to remove the third variable, which is your phone, completely. You don't have to worry about people texting you, the battery dying, like unlocking your phone, turning it sideways, and then flipping the app, and then trying to fit it in the housing and then wiggle out that little cord. You just turn this thing on, and then you turn on the Mini, and you can take off like that. Such a quality of life improvement. It's so nice to not have to think about an extra third thing, and you think it's not that big of a deal using the phone, because I was one of those people. I was like, I'd rather just use my phone and save money, but this makes flying so simple, and it'll encourage me to go film way more. And I realized this with the Mavic 3 when I got the Cine, how important it was having just this smart controller to work with. Saves so much time, and it's such a nice big bright screen that like it's so hard to think of going back. And I think it's cool of them for people who absolutely want to prioritize convenience with the Mini 3 Pro. You want the smallest drone you can get that has the maximum ability, but you also don't want to be punished by being forced to use a phone. So having this smart controller is really a good option, and I can see it doing really well. It's also for businesses that don't want to have to make their employees, anybody who's using the drone, go download the DJI app, log into your DJI account. It's just ready to go like this. It's found satellites really quickly, so I can take off here. While I'm sitting here, actually, I'll give you a demonstration of the noise on this thing, because I did this before with the Mini 2. It's not very loud, but this one's even quieter. So if I can take off and you're still listening to me talk while I'm doing this, then relatively speaking, compared to other drones, which are like way louder, this is doing a really good job. So I mean, this thing's closer to the mic than I am, and if you can still hear what I'm saying, I just noticed that it's quieter. So I'm also gonna do the Mavic 3, and it's gonna be, I have to yell a little bit more. It's not the end of the world. I have to project a lot more. I'm also gonna do the Inspire, so you have an idea. I enjoy the sound from the Mini 3 a lot more than the other drones. This model of remote controller, the DJI RC, is not the one that comes with the Mavic 3. That controller that comes with the Mavic 3 is called the DJI RC Pro. I've been in a serious relationship with that controller for about 6 months now. It's a little smaller, it's a little lighter, but it is still very big. It's bigger than my cell phone screen. It matches the same material that they use on this Mini 3. It's a little sturdier actually. And I have the thumbsticks off because I fly without the thumbsticks. The live feed is also 1080p for up to 12 kilometers. I don't know who you are out there that needs that spec to buy this drone. It's not like anybody's flying 12 kilometers and needs 1080p. That person who's like wanted to fly 10 kilometers in 1 foot and they're just bummed that the Mini 2 could only do 10 kilometers, then great, this is for you. It's already doing a good enough job. I mean, I fly this thing so far away and the signal's super strong. I've been behind a cliff and I haven't lost reception. So I'm very happy with how well it's performing. The only thing I'm looking for there, because I know the statistic is like way more than I'll ever need, I'm just making sure that it's steady and consistent, and there's been no issues. There just haven't been ever at all flying this thing. I have more hiccups using my phone actually. This thing is very, very rock solid. The other major quality of life improvement, the first thing you're gonna notice when you open this up, oh my God, no way. Oh man, okay, I thought they were both gonna come out, but yeah, we still got the thing where you have to figure out which, oh no you don't. This is the biggest, okay, this is the biggest step up, is you can flip out either one. You don't have to go in order. That's like such an annoying hang up. Thank God they got rid of that, because that was such a unnecessary, oh, that's cool. The legs open up no matter which one you open first. 47 minutes of flight time is just insane. That's an optional upgrade though. By default, you get the 34-minute battery with the Mini 2. Comparing it to the Mavic 3, I know how much more that flight time feels like, having more flight time. When you've flown and you come back and you have like 70% battery left, normally I would be like, okay, time to stop and go charge, but not having to think about like, okay, I'm getting to a dangerous point where like if I spend 5-10 minutes out there, like it's gonna start beeping at me. It relaxes you so much. And if you're like hiking or something out there in the wilderness, it's just really nice being able to have a little bit of extra time. You don't always need like 5 batteries. You only need an extra 10 minutes to get a second or third shot at your second location that you're at. That cushion is really nice. I was never upset with the flight times though. I always got all the footage I needed out of one full battery that was like 25 minutes. So I kind of just learned to work with it. But this is really nice, being able to hang out in the air and adjust your settings and like not panic. All these new drones they've come out with have had gradually better batteries though. So no matter what, even if you don't get the 47-minute one, it's still great to have the 34. Photos are still 12 megapixel. It does have a 48 megapixel mode. I don't really see a big difference in that. I think it's the same sensor trick that they were doing last time, like the way you can get a 48 megapixel on a cell phone. It's like Bayer technology or something. I don't really care about the 48 megapixel. I don't notice any big jump in quality. The Mini 3 has something called dual raw ISO. That means it'll put ISO just on the parts of the video that need it if you're filming like sunset or something. It basically just levels things out better, and I think this is the same thing as that quad Bayer stuff. They're linked together somehow, I'm just not sure. So we can't completely complain about this 48 megapixel thing because it did bring us that. But either way, the 12 megapixels, in photography world, these drones they're so far ahead that it doesn't matter. And for photography, it's more dependent on your inventiveness and your creativity than it is on like the tool that you're working with. As long as a drone can give you a couple of things, panoramics, raw photos, I mean, the rest is up to you. So you can take these really far. Even a Phantom 3 standard today, you can take really far because the photography technology is great. You can do long exposures that are a second long at the beach and it will hold still. You will see richer, deeper shadows though, especially at nighttime, especially doing long exposures with this bigger sensor though. So that's really awesome. 4K 60 frames a second. How freaking cool is that to get that in this drone? Just kidding, I don't really care at all. I've always filmed in 24 frames a second. If anything, I've had to speed up my drone footage, so it's not like I need 60 frames a second to slow down. I'm not filming dirt bikes doing backflips. For the person out there who's filming like jousting from 5 feet away, great, you've got your slow motion option. Awesome to see it in this drone though, because I think it'd be a little weird at this day and age if a GoPro can do way more frames per second and DJI couldn't pull out 60 frames. So it's probably in there just to cover their bases to say, yeah, we can do it. I'm happy with 24 frames a second, and there's more data per frame in 24 frames a second because it's the same data rate, it's just spread out farther. Doesn't make a huge difference. Matters to me though, because I'm trying to color grade and test this thing to see how far I can take it.
Here is some Mini 3 Pro next to Mini 2 footage side by side. I had to find a scene with lots of contrast. The sky is darker on the Mini 3 footage. There is a vignette. That is because I had to tape on an ND filter since nobody makes ND filters for the Mini 3 yet. So side by side, this is where it will be most noticeable because straight from camera, there's more vibrance in the Mini 3 footage. It shows a range of colors instead of one solid tone of blue the whole way. If you zoom in on the horizon, you can see that there's more texture and shadows are deeper. That allows the picture to illustrate that there's cliffs back there and there's clouds and stuff. I hate when people do this though, because this is not going to tell your story. It's not going to market your product. You don't need to obsess over little tiny details if the thing gets the job done. But I just want to show you the difference in the two. Then of course you can color grade the footage, and here's the color graded version of both of them. The color grading is easier on the Mini 3 because it's a little more flexible. You have to be very accurate with the Mini 2, otherwise it just kind of falls apart. Then we'll go to another scene I have over this grassy area. The only way to get this perfect, because the clouds were changing so much, was to literally film at the same time. I look stupid doing it, whatever, you get the point. This is the same footage being filmed at the exact same time, so you can see it side by side. And yes, I color graded both of these as well, so this is like the finished product. This is just a fast example though. This is not the Mini 3 versus Mini 2 video. I'll make a separate video for that.
There used to be a debate about this. There really is no more debate. This is the best bang for your buck drone you can get. The Mini 2 before sat between the Mini 2 and the Air 2S because it was like, you have a little bit less crucial things like Hyperlapse isn't there, collision sensors aren't there, but you save some money and that's cool. And this is just like, there's no reason not to, for the little bit extra that it is. So capable, this many professional features too, not just like good features. Like you can make money with this thing. I've already made plenty of videos showing you how to do that. This is not what this is about. But I was making money with the Mavic Pro 1, but that does a heck of a lot less than this. So yeah, you get pro quality out of this drone, which is so cool to see in a drone that small. The experience is still incredible though. 10 out of 10 experience with the Minis. That's why I'm excited to do videos on the Minis, because it's the most fun drone to go test with. Everybody doesn't stare at you. It's not noisy. It's not huge. If you're new, the anxiety is like almost completely gone because it looks like a toy. The Inspire is like a helicopter. Everybody looks, so you have to like be ready for that interaction. So again, you can get pro stuff out of this. I think the push they're trying to make is to get the Mini 2 people to stay exactly where they are. The same type of people would buy the Mini 2, but everybody who wanted more quality, like wanted a really professional drone to get the most they could, but also prioritize the size and the convenience and the weight, 249 grams, this is the option for you. So this is maximum features you can get for the size. The quality of life improvement with the Mini 2 was so huge, and it was just such a good all-around experience for everybody, hobbyists, professionals, photographers. It's earned its name like really well. It's not going anywhere, and I mean, for the price, especially if the price is going down now or getting it used, you can shoot long exposures, it shoots in RAW format. It's stabilized footage. It will fly home to you if something's wrong. I can't believe you can get so much for the price. So the Mini 2 isn't going anywhere. And in fact, more people might buy the Mini 2 now that the price is going down. And if that was the little hump that they couldn't afford to get over, now it'll be easier to find one used. But if you can pay a little bit more, then yeah, the features for this are 100% worth it. This has been the most fun drone I've had to test. I've taken it everywhere. It'll fit in your pocket. I mean, it's so cool having one of these that I am just thoroughly happy with the Mini 3.